the bulky essays to last-minute studying, college students are faced with the overbearing stress of living in the real world and while trying to balance academics. College students are dealt with the pressures of finding a job, doing well in school, etc. There's only so much a person can handle, and we are at that point in our lives where we have so many things going on, and the more burdens equals the more stress. I would first like to talk about what stress is. According to Professor Lazarus at University of California, stress arises when individuals perceive they cannot adequately cope with the demands being made on them with the threats of their own being. And this is how stress works. First, a stimulus occurs, which sends a signal to the brain, which triggers a series of events. The first event would be the primary appraisal, which is what does this mean type feeling. Then it goes to the second appraisal, which is what can I do type of feeling, which leads to the stress and coping. Now, even though stress is usually perceived as bad, it's not always so. Stress can occur when you're under a bus. It causes a fight or flight reflex, and it protects you in that sort of way. After a little glimpse of stress, I'm going to talk about how it affects us as college students. A study done in Beijing, at the University of Beijing, shows that academic hassle negatively affected psychological well-being. Students who are more vulnerable to stress would be the freshmen because of the transition from high school to college. We go from being sheltered by our parents and surrounded by people we know to a completely different environment, and that can cause a lot of stress for us. The study showed that increased workload caused a lot of stress, and stress is dependent on how you handle the situation, so it varies from person to person. According to Shannon Ross, 40 potential stressful situations in a study were put on college students, and out of all 40 of them, 100% were due to daily hassles. So like, eating, sleeping, all of that affected the way that you reacted to stress. You can see that even eating can increase stress, which leads to my last point, which is managing stress. Things that don't work, of course, are alcohol and drugs and all that, because it just avoids the stress itself. It doesn't really fix it at all. There's two types of stress coping mechanisms. One is problem-focused coping, which is solving a problem by itself, which is time management or anything like that. So we've all seen the SMART goals thing. The second one would be emotional coping, which would be a distraction with a pleasurable activity, talking with a friend. So mine would be volleyball. In conclusion, college is the time when stress is most prevalent. I've discussed what stress is, how stress affects us as college students, and how to deal with stress. Now it's up to you on how you want to handle stress. Thank you.